Remember, I don't want to have to shoot you in the face. Oh, that's so sweet.
What's up, everyone? It is Lucy. I'm joined by Jonathon.
Hello.
Jonathon, I am so excited to talk to you today because, of course, you've seen one of the most anticipated games of all time, I would say, The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Now, tell me what you saw.
Well, I got to play roughly around 2.5 hours of the game. I saw 2 different segments of it. Neither of them was the beginning of the game, but they both were, I think, pretty early on. I would say probably both first act-ish. The first part was a level called Patrol, which featured Ellie and Dina, who we've met in some of the trailers. And then I also got to play a level that was just Ellie called Suburbs, and that was set in Seattle.
Okay, so what sort of story stuff did you see?
Yeah, so story-wise, obviously if you don't want to know anything about what I saw story-wise, spoilers for the next couple minutes, but story-wise what I saw was in the Patrol level, you kind of got more of a sense of Dina and Ellie's relationship. They're living in a large encampment in Jackson, Wyoming, so it's beautiful, snowy, it's wintertime. This is post the last E3 showing that we had, where the two of them kiss at that dance.
It's like directly after, right?
Yes, this feels like the morning after sort of thing. And so they're going out on patrol, they've been assigned, and basically the two of them are just, making their way from point to point, making sure they don't see any infected. If they do, they're supposed to log it and take care of anything if they need to. But basically it's the two going on. It's a lot of more like incidental getting to know the character dialogue. Like, it's very funny and pithy in the best ways that the first Last of Us was.
Did I ruin your punchline? No. Maybe.
This is a brutal, terrible world, and they're finding ways to make each other laugh, and that's adorable and wonderful. And the beginning of it, there's a moment where the two of them stop at a watchtower, and they're looking out over the vista of how beautiful it is, and they just kind of talk about how wonderful things are. And Dina walks away, and you're still in control, but I forgot I was in control for a minute, because it was one of those like perfect Naughty Dog moments where they show you a beautiful area, a conversation's going, and then it's still and quiet, and you're like, oh, I can play, I can keep going, but you take in that moment, and they're so great at delivering that. And so it all leads to this conversation that's actually in the story trailer. The two of them eventually make their way to what is another person in their encampment's secret weed bunker, where he's been growing weed, but all the weed's dead at this point.
Yeah.
The two of them are down there, they're smoking a possibly very old joint, and they're talking about their kiss from the last night. And the two of them are like, how was it? How would you rate it? And they go back and forth, and it's funny and cute, and they're like, you can tell it's what's not being spoken is what's being spoken. It's the subtext that works so well.
Right.
And like the facial animation in those points is just beautiful. Like the acting of both Shannon Woodward and Ashley Johnson comes through so well in that moment.
They've got amazing chemistry.
Yeah, the two of them are just like perfect in that moment, and it's the two of them going back and forth until they kiss again.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, there's something here. And that's where that first level cut off. Suburbs, meanwhile, story-wise, was Ellie's gone to Seattle, which has essentially been taken over by a militant group called the WLF. The WLF are Firefly-esque in that they're this group that sprouted out post-Outbreak Day. They're very militant, they're xenophobic. If someone doesn't live in Seattle, they don't want them there, and they're gonna kill them if they stay there, or take them prisoner. So Ellie's there to find a friend, and I think also on this revenge quest to exact justice.
Now, did they give you any indication as to
Yes.
justice, like what she was actually avenging?
No.
Because obviously it's quite strongly hinted in the story trailer that possibly something happens to Dina.
Yes.
But that seems quite an obvious, quite a big plot point to give away so early in proceedings. So
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure that is what is happening.
I think the way the trailer presents it is a red herring. Dina is not in this section of the game, the suburbs part, though it is also still very early. I think the trailer is a bit of a red herring. I think I got to speak to Neil Druckmann after I played the game, and he was very much intimating that Dina and Ellie's relationship is very important to this game. It is not just a quick little thing.
It's not like she's just gonna get,
it didn't seem
killed off straight away,
Yeah.
and then okay.
The way he was talking about it, he didn't obviously say, and she lives and don't worry, but he did imply that that relationship.
Don't worry, everyone.
Yeah, Neil just
She
told me
lives.
But no, he was very clear that relationship is very core to this game, and that also that this game has a lot of twists and unexpected turns that they've crafted into the narrative that are super integral to it that they don't want to show us right now.
Okay.
But so in Seattle, you basically are making your way through, you see an explosion, you hope it's Tommy. I believe she's actually there to see Tommy. And then makes her way through a few encampments, which we'll get into in the gameplay side of it. And then at the end of it, before being killed by these scavengers, is grabbed into safety by Joel. who turns around, and the moment you see at the end of the trailer is the way my demo ended. Which is
that moment is chill. It's so perfect.
Oh, and
I was
after-
like all the hairs on my arms stood up.
Just watching it, so I watched the trailer after I played, and so seeing that moment at the end of the trailer, I got chills.
Yeah.
But that moment then came after, for me, an hour of super tense stealth and action gameplay, and it was just this breath of fresh air of like, oh, Joel, he's here. Like, I know their relationship is a bit strained in this game, but like, oh, it's just so good to see him.
Yeah,
Like, it was
yeah.
Just this wash of relief, and then it ended.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, so that, yeah.
So let's talk gameplay.
Yes.
So you went hands-on for how long?
About 2.5 hours, I would
Okay.
say. Yeah. The patrol level was a little shorter, whereas the suburbs level was longer, but that was in part because it had a lot more combat, and I died several times.
Right, okay. How
But-
does it feel different to the first, and does it feel different
So-
to the first game?
That's the thing.
Or
it's-
to Left Behind?
It's not, drastically different.
Yeah.
I would not say there is a huge noticeable difference. Like, it still plays like The Last of Us, but I would
Right.
say a more evolved, finely tuned, better version of The Last of Us. They've added a few new gameplay elements. I will say, a couple of them, the controls were a bit different to get used to.
Okay.
I will say the control scheme
Yeah.
they had in place there was a little bit different, but that's a small thing after I got used to it. But Ellie is different than Joel in a couple key ways. One, she's smaller and lighter on her feet, so
Yeah.
she can run much more easily away from things. And running away is a viable option in combat, and you should absolutely not be ashamed to run away, as I did many times in this demo.
So, because it's survival horror, like that's
Exactly.
the first game had such a strong sort of heart,
Yes.
the beating heart of survival horror. And I'm really pleased to hear that it's come back.
Yeah, I really, that was a foundational part of it. In the first level in Patrol, it was a little more focused on just exploration. It was
Yeah.
more standard, like Naughty Dog, getting used to this environment. There's a fun conversation as they're on horseback with each other, and they're going back and forth, and you're just exploring this these beautiful woods in Wyoming. And then you get into an area, and it's a few clickers that you have to take out, or a few other infected. And it's
This is you and Dina.
This is you and Dina, and she'll help in the combat just
Okay.
like Ellie would. So she, I took out a runner over here, she took out another on the other side. So she's definitely there to help in that capacity, and never the same thing with Ellie. She never gets in the way. She's never like, I'm over here, guys, and gets you killed.
So it's a seamless kind of companion.
Yes, but in the way that Ellie is different from Joel control-wise, she can jump. She has a jump button,
Okay, yeah.
which, one, it plays a lot into traversal. I saw a little bit of it, but more buildings have second levels that you can get to. Like, you can climb on top of a truck to get on top of an awning to get into a second story level. You can more nimbly get around environments to go hide behind things and whatnot. That was obviously a big part as you were playing as Joel, but because Ellie has that jump, she has a little bit more reach, including when if you get a running start, your jump is longer than if you just hit the jump.
Do you think this is kind of a way to get rid of that whole ladder thing that was
I think so,
such
yeah.
a big part of the first game?
There was no element in this game where that was real, in the demo at least, where it was like, hey, help me over with this thing.
Right,
Like, Dina,
yeah.
there was a door that was blocked, and Dina would just push a cart away. I think there was one moment where she's like, hey, can you give me help with this?
Yeah.
And it was one big bookcase, and that was it. Like, most of it was, I can move this thing, or whatever. So that was really nice. There was a bit more freedom of movement there. She also, in terms of combat, has a dodge button now. So when
helpful.
Yeah, when enemies are coming at you, when you're surrounded by 3 or 4 people, it is so wonderful to be able to be like, nope, and then get back into the combat, because you do still have your melee hand-to-hand knife action, as well as the arsenal of guns.
Does it feel as brutal? Like, I'm putting this out there. I like the violence in The Last of Us. I think that it really suits that world, and it's really cathartic in that world, and it's contextually just perfect.
Yeah.
So does it feel as brutal as it looks?
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, hand-to-hand, to take someone down with Ellie's knife, it takes a lot of swipes, let me tell you. You're not just you can do a stealth kill.
Yeah.
But you can also be in combat, and it's like, swipe, swipe, oh god, no, dodge, swipe, 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 swipe. Okay, now finally they're dead. There is a...
She's like a little monkey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, she's still, she's grown up a little bit, but she still is much more in the meat of
Scrappy.
it, there's definitely more scrappiness to her combat style, which you see in the animation, which you see in the way she's fighting, especially when, maybe an enemy is overpowering her and you have to struggle to get free.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that in there. And then one of the other biggest changes, which I saw primarily in Suburbs, was where I was taking on more human characters, is the stealth. They call it analog stealth. Essentially, Ellie can be upright, she can crouch, and then she can lay prone. and they are different levels of visibility. But you're never truly out of sight unless you are like fully behind a blocked thing. But the way it works is, so obviously there's a lot of grass that you can lay prone in and, you know, sneak around.
Like murder grass and Uncharted.
Basically,
Yep.
but you're not completely out of view. Like,
Okay.
if an enemy walks by you and they see a rustle, they're gonna be like, what's that? And walk over towards you.
So did you feel that the AI was smart?
The AI is stupid smart in
Okay.
this game, if I can use an oxymoron. Like, that makes no sense. But they are like, I was shocked. They talked a little bit a couple years back about the AI being much more reactive and responsive and intuitive. And I felt that in this demo, and that's why I died so many times. Just to kind of sum it all up, there was one area toward the end of the suburbs level. It was a small stretch of street. I could go in a few houses, you know, sneak around things, go behind walls and whatnot. The enemies were really great at getting a sense of like, oh, there was some rustling over there. Let me go check that. Hey, Tom, you come over and check on this side. Like, they call each other by name, and they know each other by name. And so if you kill a woman in front of a man, he might be like, that's my wife, how dare you? Everyone flank her from that side. Like, they have personal attachments to each other. And so there's both a like realness to the people you're fighting, which makes it more tense and brutal in a way, but they're also smarter about knowing where you've been, how to track where you've been. Some of the humans have dogs with them who can smell your trail, and you have to be able to throw them off or they will come get you, which is why running is so helpful. But yeah, they felt so much smarter, and it made the combat so much more reactive and adaptive in a way that the first game, you know, I'd follow the patrol of a guy until he was where I thought would be best to kill him and then do that. But if you shake up their patrol, they're going to be on new patrols, and then you have to learn that pattern or take a risk and try something else. So you can stealth your way through, but when you get into the pattern of maybe stealthily killing someone or bypassing people or mixing into the fray, so much can happen.
Yeah,
It's
well,
really
especially if stealth is not 100% foolproof.
Yes, yeah.
Like, I really love that idea that it's like, because of course if you're lying in some grass, you know,
People are gonna see-
someone's
yeah.
probably going to see you.
We're not Nathan Drake.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Okay, amazing. So what were your sort of overall big takeaways?
Overall, like, I loved the 2 hours that I played. It
Yeah.
felt like such a small slice of this game, though, and talking to Neil afterwards, he made it very clear that what we saw was just a fraction of the game. And so I'm really curious and to see where it all goes, because he said this is their biggest game yet. Like, scope-wise, this is their most complex and their biggest story and everything they've done. And I'm cautiously optimistic that they can keep up that tension for that long.
Yeah.
You know, some of their past games that have been longer occasionally have down points to them where things get a little quieter. You know, Uncharted 4 gets knocked for that sometimes, but they're really committed to this being a like packed, tense story the entire time, and that's a lot to keep up. I have faith in them as storytellers, and I'm excited to see that, but I only saw 2 hours. I want to know what 15, 20 hours of this is going to be. But I can't wait to see more.
Oh my God, neither can I. Jonathan, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. I'm so excited. For everything else on The Last of Us Part 2, stick with IGN.